talking about code switching, which is basically to become like a chameleon. In New York, for a while, where I discovered hip hop, I was living in San Francisco. I was tightly involved with the Black Panthers. I did know that I used it to try to feel better. That I knew.
Back to the basics, no time for complacency. Occupy space, no evictions or vacancies. Time ain't go wait. Apply pressure gracefully, soon they'll be thanking me. Can't pull no pranks. For righteous teaching.
Yo, so this is LJ, the most dignified marketer, proud member of the Men's Healing Circle. I'm the head of the OPM Vision. I'm the head of security for this establishment. But this is a In the Clouds podcast. We have a special segment. This is the Rooted In series. So I'm with a mental health wellness advocate. I'll let you introduce yourself. Who do we have here?
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Mykel Gayent. I'm with South Sac Wellness Alliance. As LJ said, I am a mental health advocate. I currently run my newest organization, but I've been working for the past 8 years with NAMI Sacramento, NAMI being the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I am a peer advocate. I am a peer leader where I teach mental health classes. I facilitate mental health support groups, and I'm also now working with the Sacramento County Education Coalition, where we are approaching the Sacramento County school districts. We're about to go into talks with Elk Grove Unified and Sac City Unified, and we have talks coming up with Natomas. But right now, I'm focusing on putting out wellness events, more so workshops, and the workshops will feature various subject matter. I mean, it's not just talking about mental health. It's talking about how do we maintain our mental wellness, how will we attain it when we're not feeling well. So there'll be workshops on financial literacy. There'll be workshops on how to handle yourself when you're feeling anxiety. Various situations, everyday life situations that causes anxiety and stress.
100%. That's essential. So we definitely do need that. So let's start from the top. So you did kind of just mention it for a second, but so where exactly were you born, and what was that energy like during your upbringing? Excuse me.
Born in Oakland, California.
I
I am definitely a Bay Area transplant. I was raised primarily in Richmond, California. I also went to school in San Francisco, where I resided in Hunters Point.
Oh wow!
So I've been meeting a lot of people lately here in Sacramento from Hunters Point. People like Baxter Arterberry. I have a friend that LJ and I both know. Joe Tanner, he's from San Francisco.
OG Joe, shout out.
But there's just so many of us here. Life in the Bay Area is much different than it is in Sacramento. I mean, I've been in Sacramento 31 years, and we still haven't caught up. There's a whole lot more community in the Bay Area that I see that I wish we had here. But there are a lot of people, professional and residents, as well as great nonprofit organizations and for-profit organizations that's working to build communities here, and I want to be a part of it.
So we're going to get into that as well. You said 31 years. That's almost my whole life. I'm 32. But that's a trip. So for every community has its heroes. So was there someone like that gave a good representation of what it was to be a man, or was there someone who was influential during your time that you would care to share at all, or that?
Well, that's an interesting question, because there was one role model that later left me, and not necessarily physically, but our relationship waned, drastically. But there were still other men that I could look up to. A couple of them in school. But that was temporary because it was elementary school and I moved on. But there was a close friend of my dad who, throughout my years, he would teach me about business. He would teach me, about being a man. But it was still hard because I wasn't getting that from my dad. There were also others. I mean, I met, when I was living in San Francisco, I was tightly involved with the Black Panthers. So I mean,
Okay.
so there's a lot of brothers there that that showed me what it meant, and because
Structure.
of my affiliation with the Black Panthers, and of course I was a student, so it wasn't like I was doing the work. I was receiving the benefits, but I get to watch them and listen to them, kind of wanted to pattern my life after them, and that kind of led me to go to join in the military later. So there was still
Well,
a number of mentors that I had in the military as well. Life wasn't easy as for many of us,
wow.
but I still had opportunities to learn. So the thing about it is that learning came back to me later when I entered when I entered a recovery journey. So I guess we'll probably talk about that later.
Definitely. What branch of the military?
Army.
Army.
Yeah,
Okay, most
yeah.
definitely. I heard you say, just from doing some research, that stigma, it wasn't a word in your vocabulary. Was there like an unspoken rule about expressing your emotions, maybe in your household or just through networking, as you were coming up?
Well, you can say that. I mean, throughout the community, that there were only certain people that I could probably talk to about it. Again, my dad, we couldn't talk, and of course later, in life, I started experiencing some of the same things that he was with my PTSD and things, and I understand later on, but no, stigma was not a word that I heard until I was 57 years old. Self medication I never heard until I was 57 years old. Mental health was not talked about. So I mean, so
Right.
all I knew is that there were things that were wrong with me, and I couldn't understand why. So I tried different things to try to try to make myself better. But
Absolutely.
and part of that was trying to find an identity. Try to find out who I really was, because I never met my father, never saw him, and my mother never talked about him. So and my mother is someone I didn't know. Um, so I had one person, a stepmother who I could talk to, and she would let me vent to her, and that was the closest that I would
Right.
get to any communication as to what was going on with me.
That's interesting.
But I found out later venting is not the way, to find that wellness that I was seeking. And of course, it wasn't that term wasn't reverberating in my mind. I just know I was just trying to figure out what's going on with me and how, what can I do about it.
Absolutely. Right. Wow. So dealing with trauma, right? That makes me think, because you just said term, from doing some more research on you, something like the ACE, your adverse childhood experiences. How did those traumas, how did you deal with those traumas, or how did that affect you from even not really being able to open up, from not having.
Well, not to sound cliche, but I buried everything. If I couldn't talk to it, then it was, I couldn't let it fester. I was like, okay, well, that's just part of life, and and deal with it. I mean, I had various types of abuses, imposed on me, but like, since I couldn't tell nobody else about it, in the one or two people I thought I could wouldn't believe me, because things was happening with me and around me, by family members. You just bury it. You know, I went to drinking later in life, but I didn't go to drinking because I said, oh well, I got these problems.
Right.
I'm going to drink. Like I said, I didn't know what self medication meant, prior to finding my recovery. But I knew that I did know that I used it to try to feel better. That I knew, but
Right.
psychologically, I didn't, I didn't equate it to mental health, good or
Right.
bad.
That makes sense. So that was the coping mechanism, most definitely. Man, being in the Bay Area too, that's become a pattern, for people to have just the trauma, from even just a dysfunctional upbringing. But was there anyone that was like a part of your youth who kind of modeled what it looked like to be vulnerable, or that represented, that it's okay to not be okay, if that would be the same for it.
Unfortunately, not through like adolescence or even teen years. No, I didn't see that. I just saw other people, seeming to do better. So what I would do is I would emulate those who I thought was living a good life. And of course, you don't know what people are living
Right.
behind their closed doors, on the other side of their walls. But outwardly, there, people that look like they had it going on, I tried to emulate.
Absolutely. Right. That makes sense. I heard you mention that you started to build a connection with music. Can you touch on that? Like, what was the music? What type of music did influence you? For those that may not know, because as you know, music is culture. And even then, I know you tie that into part of your workshops, as well. But we could talk about that in a second. But as far as music, what would have been your go tos?
Well, of course, there's like many black families. Music was a big part of in our
Absolutely.
house. Listening to R&B, listening to gospel, listening to jazz, listening to blues. I mean, I had the whole gamut. You know, uh, and at about 6 or 7, my mom put me into music lessons.
Nice. Okay.
So once a week, I have an hour of music lesson. I have half an hour on the piano and half an hour on the guitar, and I did that until she passed away when I was 12. And the significance of that is like my dad didn't nurture my music. I mean, I even came home one time from school, and there was no piano, there was no guitar.
Oh wow.
So I had to use the instruments in school. But after a while, I mean, he kind of killed the desire to continue that. But I
Right.
always still had a hand in with music. I had friends who were in bands. I joined the band for a little while in
Okay.
high school, the Western Union Telesoul Band.
The Western Union. Okay.
It was fun. But I can look back on even when I wasn't doing that. Then when I would feel a certain way, music would always calm me down.
Definitely.
So I use that now as one of my tools. I mean, in the mental health field, we help people build tools for coping,
100%.
and
Definitely.
so for your tools would be different from mine.
Right.
Your music choices would be different from mine, possibly. Like
Right.
right now, I have a go to. I have about 9 or 10 different playlists that I like to go to sometimes,
Wow.
and it's just I don't even think about it. It's just when I know I'm going to play the music, and I don't think about the playlist. I just push one and
There
go
you go.
for it.
There you
But
go.
I run the gamut. Like I say, I love jazz. I
Mm-hmm.
study jazz. But I also love R&B. But everything for me is old school, of course.
Gotcha.
So like I love hip hop, but I love old school hip hop. I came up in in New York for a while
Nice.
where I discovered hip hop.
The
I
East
just
Coast.
so the Sugar Hill and Sugar Hill Gang, African Bambaataa. Even though
Mm-hmm.
L Cool J was just getting started when I first started doing it, but then I
Mm-hmm.
get into to deeper artists, like to put Boogie Down Productions,
That's
KRS-One and his
one.
and his crew,
The Nation
anybody that
members.
was teaching. I love the teachings. I love the poets that came. They put
Absolutely.
their words to music.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm in a phase where I'm listening to Gil Scott Heron. I mean,
Okay.
constantly. Matter of fact, I was listening to him coming in. But if I feel a certain way, feel anger, believe it or not. If I get real angry, I put on NWA, man. We just go to town,
Oh,
and I sing with
okay.
it to get
Right.
that aggression out. But also, with anxiety, then that's when I'll go to some smooth jazz,
Absolutely.
instrumentals.
Right.
That's
So,
just one of many
right.
that I use.
Okay. That makes me think though. So you kind of had to develop like, well, would you say you had to develop like the hard man persona, or would you say like not so much persona, but kind of you developed the ego, Because I can only imagine. You said your mom had passed away when you were 12, and you never really had a relationship with your dad. So man, right? Did that kind of did you develop? Because when you said anger, that made me think too. You can definitely have that perspective of the. You can have just some built up animosity to where you kind of have that hard man persona. Was there like a pivotal moment where you had to let that go, or well, first and foremost, did you develop the like hard man persona from that, or what was more of what you were going through from not having parents after that?
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because I've been talking to a couple of friends lately, and we're talking about code switching, which is basically a form of to become like a chameleon.
Absolutely right.
I learned that for different environments, different different society levels, that I felt like I had to be a certain way. So I learned how to transform myself
Code switch.
to go to a certain a certain aspect of like if I was standing on the street corner singing with my
Right.
partners
Yep.
at 12 in the afternoon, and I look up and it's 2 o'clock. Oh, I gotta go to work, but I gotta be somebody different. I can't be the brother off the street when I go work in Bank of America. I
Right.
mean, I could, but for me that didn't work. I mean, because I can't emulating others came easy to me. So I would see how people
Right.
would act, whether white, whether black, Hispanic, it didn't matter. They, in a business environment, I felt I had to be a certain way, so I did. If I go out to a club again, then I got to be, I got to be, I got to be like that cool cat,
Right.
um, and I wasn't necessarily cool, but nobody would know it because I was playing a role. Um, that also led me into dramatic arts. I took dramatic arts for a couple of years.
Dramatic
High
arts.
school, one year in high school and 1 year in college. So that kept that going because I was always looking for an identity, trying to find out who I really was. Um, and then the hardness kind of came in a little later when I went into the military.
Army.
You
Right.
know, again, I'm emulating the drill sergeants. I'm emulating the officers around me. So I feel like even now I can be who I need to be at any given time. But but I don't do that anymore per se because I want everybody to know that I am my authentic self. I know who I am
I like
today.
that.
That's what that's what matters. And again, it started with that mental wellness journey, finding out what the symptoms I was living with, finding out what I needed to do in order to continue living with them.
Right.
But because before I was more existing, and now I'm living.
Absolutely. So let's dive into that though, because you launched your own organization, and this is very essential. Like it's everybody can benefit from this. So tell us a little bit more about so it's one word, South Sac Wellness Alliance. So you launched that, and from what you gave me so far, you said you pretty much learned from experience and you gained some tools, and you pretty much have set it out to share the tools for those that need it to help get ahead.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I mean, working with NAMI, and me being a black man and caring about my black brothers and sisters, and I'm not seeing me in the rooms,
Mm,
I came on board with NAMI, seeing people come and go, seeing brothers and sisters come and go. And for a long time, I didn't understand, and at the same time, I didn't really care because I was all into myself, and my own development, But got to a point after a while, I'm teaching classes. I'm facilitating support groups. I'm going out into the community, and I, you know, is it, I'm actually serving,
absolutely.
the wider community. Well, that's fine. I mean, I want to help everybody. That's when I was in the army, that's what I did. I helped everybody. When I worked for Sacramento County, I
You help
retired from there.
everybody.
That's what I did. I helped everybody. But now I feel like I got to concentrate on my brothers and sisters.
Right. We were getting into you launching your organization, and I was curious. So it's South Sac Wellness Alliance. But of course, you having roots in the Bay Area, but you being rooted in Sacramento. Or how long have you been in Sacramento? That's more of the important question I
31
should
years.
ask, right?
31 years.
Okay, got you right. So you did say so. 31 years is when you've been in SAC, and the Wellness Alliance, is this something that you would be considered? It's still getting off the launch pad, or this is something that or how would you introduce like the official establishment of it, or is it still in the rollout phase?
Well, it is in the rollout phase, but I mean,
Got you.
but I established it 2 years ago,
Okay.
and I actually had uh, put on two other events prior to the one we just had up this past Saturday. They were called Sharing Hope events. The Sharing Hope is a NAMI initiative. So
Okay.
uh, I I got my license, and set up certain things, but because I'm not I'm for profit right now. I'm about to work on a nonprofit, but since I give free services, so there's not a lot of cash flow coming in right now, but
Makes sense.
I'm working on that as well, working on grants and things, but. This is something that is, it just really just spawned because I want I went to NAMI and I said I want to put on something for the Black community, and I started out with it in Solano County,
Okay.
and then
Solano.
then brought it here to Sacramento, but I really didn't get the support I was after, so I put it to bed for a little bit
Okay.
until I finally decided that okay, well I need to bring this up. I need to jumpstart it again. So that's why we had the Black Men and Boys
The
Empowerment
Black.
Summit last Saturday.
That was a great
You
event.
know, and I'm putting together a series of various workshops. In November, I'm going to work with an organization called Leaders of Men Incorporated out of Fairfield,
Okay.
and
Leaders of Men.
we've been wanting to work together for quite a while. I'm actually on their board, and the brother, his name is Anthony McDonald. He's going to be on my board for my nonprofit.
Shout out to him.
So I'm really looking forward to steamroll this up.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually going to be more of a producer and let him come and do his thing.
Okay, that's interesting. So that makes me want to know, what is the core like root mission for South Sac Wellness Alliance?
For me, I want to collaborate with other organizations, within Sacramento County, established or even new organizations. I'm affiliated with quite a number of them.
Definitely.
So my plan is to reach out to them and let them know what it is that I want to do, and let's go after some grant money, and we can, we all have a part in it. But all I really want to do for the community is bring the resources to them. I'm not, I'm never going to act as if I'm the content expert.
Hmm.
If I want a class on financial literacy, then I'm going to go out and get a financial expert. If I
Makes
want,
sense.
if for some facet of mental health for youth, I'm going to go find somebody out there that works specifically with the youth in their mental health needs.
That's much needed, right? That's definitely much needed. So, you kind of it makes me think like because I do meet with you on a weekly basis with the men's healing circle, and it's similar to like a rinse and repeat thing, and especially for the youth, because the youth is who we're targeting. But I noticed you're catering to the elders, the youth, and the in between, and that's what's kind of forming the actual alliance. So that's something that I gravitate towards, and that's why I definitely took a liking to just the way that you did carry yourself as well. So when you said the series of events too, so these are workshops. So I mean, these events that you have, the focus is to kind of make it a networking space, so we can kind of just get the healing as well, but then network and see that what we have available. Or were you talking about resources as far as mainly or what did you mean for, like, what was your intention for the resources that you were um looking to have available, I should
Well,
say.
we need resources every day. I mean, if you know if you look on TikTok, if you look on Instagram, if you look on neighborhood,
Right.
somebody's always saying, "Hey, I need a plumber. My dog is sick, and I'm looking for a reputable pet hospital." Anything that causes any type of anxiety, that's these are the resources that we need to bring to
Got
the
you.
people. I mean, sure, there's 211, there's 311. There's all kind of resources that that we can Google,
Right.
right? But a
Definitely.
lot of times we a person wants to know that uh, a referral that they might get has been vetted. They want to know that it worked out for so
Absolutely.
many people. So,
Absolutely.
so I would like to bring those resources into a room or into a Zoom room. We'll do it. We'll do it online. We'll do it in person, and sometimes we'll do both. But after that, we'll make sure that there's resources
Available.
to be had. If they'll sometimes depending on how big the event is, we'll bring the resources in their tables and let them talk to those resources.
Hmm.
Other times we'll use QR codes
Okay.
for people to go to resources that I know are vetted resources.
That's huge, right? So the resources would be the solutions for mental health and just to kind of give some options for mental wellness overall. So I see that as essential. Like, man, definitely. So okay, launching your own organization, going through a series of events that definitely would be safe to say it's a dysfunctional upbringing. That makes me wonder, like, so what would the end goal or what would the overall picture be once you establish the South Sac Wellness Alliance? Do you see yourself, or yeah, just what would the end goal, the overall picture be? Let's say even if it was just 5 years or a decade from now.
I I have deep faith in God, in Jesus Christ. So I believe, like right now, the reason that I'm doing this, that at my age, I mean, I just turned 70. I
Happy
actually
belated
started South
birthday.
Sac Wellness Alliance at the age of 68, and I'm like, and at first I didn't want to tell anybody, who starts a business that late, I mean, it's not like I came into an inheritance and say, "Oh, I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna help the
Right.
community." This is just something that I want to do. I have the support of my wife, my family. I do have a lot of support in the community. Sometimes I'm surprised at who steps up, to support me.
Absolutely.
Is what I'm getting to the point where that is no surprise anymore. I feel I deserve their respect and their support because I'm always trying to support others as well.
Definitely.
I don't, it's give and take, So if I'm working, I'm working with you. So that,
Hundred percent.
I look for the opportunity where, where I can support you, to the utmost, and as far as how far I want this to go, I want to, with I'm hoping that I don't know how long the process is going to take, but as soon as I can get this nonprofit going and get it set up, get the board set up and everything, I want to bring in people, for of various ages,
Absolutely.
that at some point, when I can't work any longer, I want this to continue on.
So you can
So,
pass the baton.
but I, with the Lord's blessing, I hope to be able to do it for another 10 years.
100%. I like that. That made me think of the saying, it's never too late to be great, So appealing to mental wellness is definitely an essential thing and it's much needed. And I like how you're forming an alliance too, because things I've heard the saying too, it's going to take more than one person to achieve anything great, but you definitely you've lived the life, you definitely become qualified and certified to be able to talk about these things. So I mean, man, you so having your own business, right? Starting, at 68, And then now being in this position where, mind you, so the men's healing circle is definitely something that that's how I've been able to come across and take a liking to what you got going. And there's power in those rooms for people that don't know,
Yes.
and that's where you've played a heavy part in that. You played a major role in that. So I'm excited to see where this thing goes. And for those that may not know though, where's the best place to find you? Like where's the best handle, or do you prefer emails? How do we get in touch with you?
I'll jump on the phone, but be perfectly honest with you, because I've been hacked. I don't answer just any calls. I ask that anybody that gets my information, and I'll be happy to give that out. I'll give out my phone number, but please text me first.
Gotcha.
Let me know who it is that that I'm talking to. If we've met, let me know that where we met, or just let me know who you are.
Absolutely,
I will
right.
respond, and no, I won't wait 24 to 48 hours. I'll respond as soon as I can. Texting is now for me a good thing. I mean, I'm old school for it. I fought tooth and nail not to rely on texting. I'm like,
Right.
I'm used to the phone. But now, I'm happy to receive a text. I'm happy to receive emails. I try to check my emails as often as I can, even though right now I got like 20,000 emails. But a lot of it, but I make sure to check it out every day so I can make sure that I get the most important content out and addressed. You can catch me on Facebook, of course. I have my personal Facebook under Mykel Gant. I have a Facebook landing page under South Sac Wellness Alliance, and that's where, if you want to find out what I'm doing, that's where you'll want to go.
Absolutely.
But you can also hit me up on Mykel Gayent page. I have Instagram. I am Gman56.
I am Gman56.
I have TikTok. I'm not really established on that yet, but it's going to be one of the places that you'll find content, because I'm looking for that right suite where I can go in and put out one post and put it out to all my platforms. And I think I found one, so you'll be able to find me. And look, the way my name is spelled, if you spell it right, you'll find me.
You had read my mind. You have a unique way of spelling it. How do you spell your name?
It's Mykel.
Mykel. Mykel. That's different. Okay, most definitely. Is there any questions that I may have missed? Is there?
Yeah, actually. If you're putting together a mental health first aid kit for a young man, what are 3 things that you would put in that?
One of the things I would put in is definitely to ensure that he has a listing of mental health organizations here and around us, and that will outline not only who they are, but what they will do. I would also, like I said, make sure that they have access to all the available resource lines, resource websites. Like I said, I talk about wellness, but I mean, I'm all about getting mental health. But what I want to do is get people ready to get that mental health. That's why we talk about, finding the wellness first, especially in the community, in underserved communities, because it's not just Black underserved communities who still won't let go of the stigma. So these, I will definitely make sure that they have that information. I would try to have some information in there that was kind of get them to want to read about what it means to have mental health symptoms, and and also for them to understand that they are not their symptoms. So I don't want people shouldn't go around and say that I'm bipolar, I'm schizophrenic. I'm living with bipolar disorder. I'm living with PTSD. I was once diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but it turns out that I was misdiagnosed. But then to ensure that, what I would do is ask if I can help somebody one-on-one, that we would create, a list, a support team list, and that would include anyone that they would feel comfortable talking to at any given time. So these are basic things. There's more things that that we could we could look at. But these are we want to keep it simple as possible. I mean, dealing with your mental health symptoms is not a simple task, and it's something that you work hard at every day. But if for me, I looked at learning how to deal with having a mental health diagnosis, and it was freeing on one hand, but on the other it was scary because wow, how do I deal with this,
Right.
so
So from what it
like I
sounds
said,
like,
I would try to keep it simple because you don't want to overwhelm anybody until they're ready to seek the help that they may need.
start off with something simple, have those list of organizations that you can go to and talk, and then get into that. Oh, let's start adding more stuff into it.
Exactly.
Okay. Um, Something else. Um, Second one, you said in, I believe it was an article that I read, um, that it's okay not to be okay. Um, how do we move that from just being something we say to a real lived reality in something like our communities? Being even myself, I know in my growing up in a Mexican household, it was kind of seen as like a stigma. It was not really something that you would really take serious. You would talk about therapy or something, and it would just be like, why? What's the point of that? How does that help? So how do you shift that mentality in a community?
The only way I can see to do it, is through my own story. You know, to be to be transparent. I find that people appreciate that, and when they can, oftentimes, you can tell a story, and someone is going to say, oh yeah, that he's talking about me when I'm actually talking about myself, and I try to show just by doing that, it's easy to talk about these things. I mean, if you tell me that you're having an issue with your siblings, and well, I've had issues with siblings as well, so I could talk about that, not trying, and not trying, again, not trying to get into a tone of this is what I did, you should do it too. This is just what I did, and I would hope that anything that I would share with you, that if it resonates with you, then you think about it and you decide if you want to do that, or say, okay, well, that's good that he's that this is the method he's used, but I think it's this other method will work better for me. At least you're thinking about it. At least you're considering, trying to do something about the things that tear you down sometimes, and to show you that, another saying is you're not alone. And a lot of people walk around here thinking that I'm the only one who feels like I feel,
Right.
And it's not true. And I tell you, I mean, every day I come across people. We all have seen similar issues, similar problems. Maybe not in the exact same scenarios, of course, but so similar that we can help one another find solutions.
Yeah, stories are very powerful, and being able to relate to something, knowing that you're not the only one, is definitely something. Like even myself, just listening to podcasts, listening to those conversations makes you feel like, okay, it's not just me, it's bigger than me. It's something that everyone battles through, that has to get through daily.
Yeah.
So that's really nice to finally, or not finally, it's starting to slowly kind of come into our communities, but hearing it from someone that grew up so close, or so, just like us, pretty much in their own way. Um, Last question. So this one's more of a quick fire. So, well, I'm gonna name. We were talking about earlier how you use music as somewhat of a therapy for like certain emotions. So we wanted to name some emotions, and then you name the first album that comes to your mind that ties to that emotion.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we'll start off with, let's say anxiety.
Anxiety, that can really be anyone, but right now what's going through my mind is Donald Byrd, Places and Spaces. That's from about 1974.
Okay. So that's something that like gets you kind of slow down your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Do you want to shoot one out?
So,
LJ?
yep. Anger.
Anger. Well, like I described before, sometimes if anger, I can listen to something soothing, but sometimes when I do, it's just like it's just not getting it, not getting it right now. And I've said before, and I really mean it. I'm really into West Coast gangster rap, from old school days. So I mean, it might be Ice T, it might be Ice Cube, we come up here and listen to Too Short. Well, I mean, anybody that has that is expressing their anger,
Right.
I can relate to it and sing with them and get that energy out. If I feel like I'm burning it out.
Right. Okay.
The energy on West Coast, like old school, especially Ice Cube's No Vaseline. That one hypes me up every time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It is one of the greatest diss tracks of all time. I guess I'll shoot out the last one. How about reminiscing? Thinking about kind of the past, maybe like almost living in regret. How do you kind of what album would you put for that?
Well, something like that. I mean, I think people talk about Marvin Gaye all the time, and sometimes I cringe because because we throw his name out there all the time, but I can't help but think about the brother Ronald Bell, who's running for county supervisor, and I gave him some time in the event, and he started going bellowing out there, make me want to holler, raise up both my hands, and that that's I really feel that, because it's, we're talking about, for me, it's exasperation. I mean, we're putting up with so many different things in our daily life, from people and organizations that we feel that are supposed to protect us, but there's still things are happening to our kids, in our neighborhoods, so something like that is where I might go.
Okay. Variety, a lot of variety.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Any more wrapping up questions? You have any questions?
We covered a lot. Is there anything that's excuse me, I'm sorry, I got stuffed up. Is there anything that's coming up, or is there anything that we should be anticipating, or where we can find you if there's somebody who if some of us did want to get in touch with you?
If somebody want to get in touch with me right now, like I said, look me up on Facebook, message me, and I guess you can message me on Instagram as well. If you can identify yourself, that would help. But if you need help, reach out to me. If I can't do it, I'll find somebody that can help. And right now, I would like to say also, just because this is something that I believe in. NAMI Sacramento has a helpline, and if you Google NAMI Sacramento helpline, you will get their phone number, and what you'll get is you get a recorded message. You'll leave your message. Someone will contact you within 24 hours. We have a staff of people, volunteers who runs the resource line. They will listen to your story so that they can provide you with the right resource, and that's the same thing I would do, and I would also be telling people to reach out to NAMI.
Absolutely.
We'll put that number up on the screen, and we'll have that all.
I also want to shout out another organization for the brothers and the sisters, the Safe Black Space. Matter of fact, that Safe Black Space has an online event coming up on Saturday. I think at 3:00. Look them up, hit them up.
Gotcha. So we'll also leave the links for your contact as well. But definitely though, I definitely do thank you for taking the time out. It's definitely an honor. You're a man who's on your journey of healing and offering healing as well too. So I definitely do value everything that you've been doing, and I'm looking forward to the journey for us sharing some memories as part of the journey as well. So,
definitely, I'm looking to travel down that road with you.
Absolutely. Most definitely. So there you have it. You know, this is a Rooted In segment. We're in the clouds, you know, as well. Shout out to OG Fabio, you know. So we're gonna make this happen. Special thank you to our guest, Mykel Gant. And this is part of the South Sac Wellness Alliance. Peace.